Hey everybody, welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and on today's episode we have a very special sneak preview / review of some brand new figures that I know all of you are dying to see in person. And as much as I would love to babble on endlessly and give a really cool intro that sets up things and talks about my childhood love of this franchise, but I don't need to. You already know it. I know you love it too. Let's just get into this because today we're taking a look at, for the very first time ever, the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figures from the Mutant Mayhem movie. This is a sealed box right here of the figures, and you can already read in the packaging here, this isn't supposed to come out until June 25th, but Playmates was kind enough to send these figures in advance to me to show off to all of you, and I cannot be more excited. And truth be told, I actually don't entirely know what's in this box. I can make an assumption at what's in here, but I really don't know. It's as of now a complete mystery, so we're doing a real legit unboxing right now to see what's in this package. And this is the incredibly riveting part of the video where I try not to cut my hands open while doing this and not turning this into a Ninja Turtle action figure deathmatch. So far, so good. Haven't cut my femur yet. All right. Let's go ahead, crack this open, see what we have inside. Ooh, okay, I'm excited already. Oh yes, very excited, very much excited. Ladies, gentlemen, non-binary pals, and mutated turtles, I present to you for the very first time on Nerd News Today, all 4 of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the Mutant Mayhem movie. Oh man, I got chills right now, you guys. I've never really had this happen to me on the channel before. It's happened, but not like this. This just feels so amazing. So I saw these figures for the first time at a toy show not that long ago, and what I was shown was basically production, if not close to production. And those toys were incredibly, incredibly impressive. From the sculpts to the number of accessories, and most importantly to the price point, they were scratching all the itches. I know a lot of you out there agreed. So I cannot wait to dig into these myself and take a better look at them and see if they are indeed going to be worth that price point, and really if they're just going to be good, period. So let's just take a quicker look at this packaging here as, again, this is really my first time seeing these in box in hand, at least since that toy event I went to, and this is really cool. So this is in a similar style to what we would have seen in the old retro Ninja Turtle figures, the original ones from Playmates, but definitely with a modern take on them here. So we have this great purple brick background behind the green and yellow logo, and then of course the figure presented just with no obstructions whatsoever. You get a perfectly clear view into what each of these figures comes with. And that is a ton of accessories, and some unexpected as well. So not only do each of the turtles come with their signature weapons, they also come with that classic Playmates sprue full of other ninja weapons, and in this case a few different things that we saw in the past, as well as a baby turtle. Baby turtles are one of my favorite accessories to come with Ninja Turtle figures, and there hasn't been a lot of figures that came with it. There are some, yes, but not a lot, and one of my favorite accessories as a kid was actually those glow-in-the-dark turtles, and if you guys know what I'm talking about, let me know in the comments below, but I always love that. I'm always a fan of baby turtles, and I'm so excited to see it here in this packaging. Each one of the Turtles figures has a really cool illustration of each of the characters on the left side of the packaging, and each character is pretty different than how we remember seeing them back in the day. In the original Playmates era, everybody looked pretty much the same, but really for the last few years with a lot of the movies and some of the other media that they've been portrayed in, they've really tried to separate the way they look physically, and you can see that here in all of this artwork. In addition to that, underneath their names, you're also getting a description of who they are, and this is going to basically be the type of character you can expect to see them play on screen. So Leonardo is the leader, that's pretty obvious. Donatello is the brains. Raphael is the angry one, and Michelangelo, this time around, he's not the party dude, but he is the entertainer. And the back of the box keeps the retro fun going because you get a look at all the other figures in this lineup. Unfortunately, it's not images of the toys themselves, but it is images of all the characters who we're going to be seeing in this first wave here. And that's represented by all 4 Turtles, by Splinter, by Rocksteady, Bebop, Superfly, and Leatherhead. And I believe there's going to be a few other characters as well in this line, because you'll notice that April O'Neil is absent from this packaging here, so there's going to definitely be a wave 2 of these guys. And the back of the box also has bio cards for all the figures. Good old clip and collect, just like the old Playmates toys of the past, G.I. Joe, Star Trek. So many fun toys from Playmates have those bio cards, and they're bringing them back for these Mutant Mayhem figures as well. And just for fun, I want to show you guys one of the retro style packaging. This is not an original shredder in my hand here, but this is the retro shredder that Playmates recently re-released, and you can see here just a comparison of how the old boxes looked to what the new ones are like. And, you know, as far as like size goes, surprisingly not that far off. I mean, clearly the Mutant Mayhem is a little bit smaller, but even as far as like width is identical. It's really just the height that is the main difference, and also the die cut here, because this card, it's basically just a rectangle at rounded edges. But this new one here has got a lot more die cuts on it, which makes it pretty interesting to look at. And as far as the toy goes, this thing is just so eye-catching. I'm so excited for little kids to experience Ninja Turtles in this way again. Because we've always had turtle toys over the years in different formats, different sizes, whatever. But something feels really special about these. Maybe it's just the fact that it's a movie back in theaters again. I don't quite know, but everything in this packaging is absolutely doing it for me right now. And especially when you compare it to this guy here, it just feels like the perfect combination of old and new married together. I have to tell you guys, I am completely in awe at all four of these turtles here. So at this point, there's really nothing else I can do except, well, get these guys out of the package and get a closer look at them out of the box. And here are our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem figures out of the package. I got all four of them together right now so we can do a quick rotation and give you a quick glimpse at all four figures that are making up, I guess, well, the four turtles in this first wave. And so initial thoughts about these guys are, man, these are really good. These are just as good as when I saw them a few months back when they were being previewed for the first time. And they are great. Like, they're definitely a modern version of these turtles, and that's all good. But there's so many classic elements in these toys as well that just make them really nice. Plus, really good articulation too, I'd say. I mean, it might not be the ideal articulation, but it's overall very strong articulation. And every single turtle you can see here, they look different from each other. They have different features, different functions. We're going to dive into them right now and start taking a closer look at some of them, what they do. And let's go ahead and I guess we'll start with the leader of the group because he's rotating around right now. As far as likeness goes, and taking a 3D computer-generated image and turning them into toy form, these are great. They all have a lot of life in them. I like the expressions. I like all of the eyes. And, we're starting with Leo, but we're going to look at all four turtles as we talk about them here. But yeah, they all have very different faces on them. That's also, I think, a pretty important thing because it tells you a lot about their personalities, tells you a lot about what the main character traits are about each of them. And I feel like these are a little bit more expressive than, let's say, some of the older turtles of the past as well. But again, they still have things that harken back to their original faces, and that's what's kind of cool. And what I mean by that is, like, all of their mouths. Their mouths are in that classic TMNT toy pose. And if you remember those original toys, which I happen to have a few of here, you'll see what I'm talking about. And that they all had these like weird grimaces where like it was this like figure 8 that made up their mouths, and some were closed on one side, some were open on others. A few had both sides showing all of their teeth. They were really different, really interesting, and they're doing that again here. And they're also adding the fact that the eyes have pupils, they've got eyebrows now. So you're able to see a lot more than just anger in their faces. Like Michelangelo is having fun. He's got a smile on his face. Donnie, similarly having fun, but he looks like he's in some deep thought. Leo looks very focused, and Raph just looks angry AF, because, well, really, when isn't he? Now let's spend some time talking more about the bodies, and I want to start things off just by showing off some of the articulation here, because the articulation is really nice. So you've got a ball-jointed head that lets you look left and right. You've got ball-jointed shoulders, and these are a little stiff out the box, but fairly good otherwise. A ball-jointed elbow that gives you a nice amount of mobility there. We have wrist joints that can rotate. We don't have any waist articulation, but really turtles never do. But we do have a joint here in our hips to get some good kicking action. We have it looks like a single joint for the knee, allowing you to do some good kicks. And the feet can rotate left and right, and that's about it. And so it's pretty good. And you keep in mind, too, the price point of these figures is only like $10 for each one of them. That's a pretty solid price point for the articulation that you're getting. Now, the one downside about a lot of these figures that I'm showing you guys, as you can see with the bodies, is I'm actually having a little bit of trouble standing them up, and it depends character to character. Leo and some of the smaller characters aren't too bad, it just depends. I mean, you can kind of see it. I'm actually not sure if you can see it, but, one of his feet is kind of already off the ground where his toes are. Donatello is similarly balancing, but characters like Raph, for example, I had a pretty hard time. I had to get him basically hunkered down like this. Otherwise, because of the fact that, especially for Raphael, his shell is enormous, well, that shell and gravity, they don't mix. So, they can get easily knocked over. So that's something to be a little bit aware of. The upside of that is that all the figures do have peg holes in their feet, which you can see at Michelangelo. See what I mean? They just knock down real easy. Let's go ahead, we'll move him over. So they all have peg holes in the bottom of their feet. Now, there are no bases currently officially for these turtles, but that doesn't mean that there might be some genius out there who has got a 3D printer that can figure out how to do this. But yeah, sometimes, there you go, getting them to stand up can be a little difficult. And I feel like that's just a thing that didn't happen with like the classic Turtles toys, but it is happening a little bit here, so just be careful and be aware of it. Now let's see if I actually can get all four guys together at once, because before when I did that rotation, it worked because I had them kind of counterbalancing on each other's shells. It might be a little bit harder here because they might not even all entirely fit on this display. So let me do some fancy movements here and see if we can get everybody together. All 4 of the turtles have unique bodies. They're unique sizes as well. Everything about them is different. There's really no shared parts across any of these guys, it looks like. I think maybe the toes for some of them, but otherwise, I mean, there's not a ton. Everybody's a little bit different. You know, Leo's a little bit more muscular. Donatello's a little bit leaner. Raph, of course, is like the biggest. And color-wise, too, you can see that there's definitely some kind of reminiscing back to the original Turtles toys from Playmates, too. In the color choices, again, the faces, I mean, these are all just really cool across the board. Some really excellently thought out ideas that are excellently executed. And likewise, here's a look at 3 of the 4 shells. That's all I can fit on camera with the way I have this set up. But yeah, all the shells you can see are quite big, quite nice. Got some pretty good detailing on them as well. And their belts, of course, do stretch around because that's where they're going to hide some of their weapons. Although in the case of Donatello, he also has an additional little fun accessory, and that would be his very 90s style fanny pack, complete with his little cell phone in there too. So that covers likeness, that covers articulation, and I feel like this now leads us perfectly into accessories. And these turtles come with a lot of accessories. So just like the classic turtles back in the original figure line, all of the turtles have a sprue full of weapons and other fun things here. It's a little bit different from what we saw back in the original line. They all have some different objects, but the intent is here, and it's really fun just seeing this whole sprue thing come back. And they look good. So some of the differences here you'll see is that the turtles come with mutagen cans. So everybody, it looks like, is getting a mutagen can, which is kind of interesting. And everybody's also getting, this time around, in addition to their additional weapons, everybody's getting a slice of pizza, which is also different from what the original sprues came with. Now, I just so happen to have one of those, so let me come back over here for a second, and we'll just pop one of these newer ones out of the way, and we'll take a look at how this looks to one of the quote-unquote originals. And I say quote-unquote because, in actuality, this one is from one of the recent remakes of the Turtles. And let's see if we can get this to actually stand up. So this one, as opposed to like this nice one here, unlike the figures, the sprues have no problem standing up. I'm just gonna have them lean on each other because you guys get the idea. But yeah, here you can see what we're talking about. So the original is on the right, the new one is on the left. So it's a larger sprue for the new figures, and we're getting a similar amount of weapons, maybe not quite as many. But again, the difference is everybody comes with mutagen, everybody comes with pizza. And truth be told, I would kind of rather have everybody having pizza than more weapons. As cool as the weapons are, we don't need to have every single figure coming with some of the same things. Because I think for the most part, the weapons were fairly identical across the board. They all had this little dagger thing, this other little thing here. They all had stars and stuff. That's cool, but I really like having the different, more unique accessories. And that's the thing too, you know, if we start pulling some of the ones here again, you'll see here is a different one that's got more ninja stars. It has a much longer sort of comma with a sickle there. So really nice stuff, really fun differences. And all the pizzas are even different too. I mean, check out this one over here. This pizza shape is different from the other pizza shapes. I think Michelangelo has one that's much smaller because he's been eating a lot more of it. So yeah, also he's got microphone nunchucks. There's a lot of cool accessories here. And while I'd love to take them off all the screws and I'm going to show you each one individually, we've got to move on because there's a lot more to take a look at. And one of those things that we got to spend some time with is the signature weapons for each of the turtles. So here's Raphael holding his sais. I've got Donatello with his bow staff, Michelangelo with his dual nunchucks, and Leonardo with his katanas. So again, these guys look great, and one of the things I really like about them all right here and how they're being shown off is I'm happy to announce that these figures had no problems getting their weapons into their hands. In fact, their weapons went into their hands with like no effort whatsoever. The fingers are all actually made with a softer material, so they can actually wrap their hands around the weapons. It's a little bit more realistic. It's a lot nicer than having to like force your weapons into their hands, and it really goes for all the accessories. You know, there's no force required. They're able to get these things just in and out so easily because you can see that the fingers bend a little nice and rubbery. It's great. Like, that's such a wonderful feature to have here. Here's hoping I don't knock down all the turtles again. It's a great feature. I love that it's there. Makes them look just excellent, you guys. Like, yeah, this is exactly what I'm looking for in my turtles. And as I mentioned earlier, all the turtles do have sections on their belt to put their weapons in. I'm going to just do that right now on camera and just show you Donatello's just to make sure it all works. And again, feels nice and soft, actually. Goes in really easily, but also feels very firm in there. So that's really cool. And that means they can all carry their main weapons while still eating pizza and holding whatever else they got with them. And just like we mentioned at the start of the video, all 4 turtles, they each have a little baby version of themselves. That's why it's really cool that they also come in the mutagen container. So yeah, everybody's getting a little cute, tiny turtle version of themselves, and they're really nicely detailed. They have cute little faces as well. I think those might be all the same. Those might be all sharing a mold. but I'm okay with that. I mean, they look good. They have different colors to them. This is a wonderful little accessory and kind of a great throwback to the original Turtle days as well. Plus, it's just fun now that you could really actually, act out the origin story with the little guys now. Now, when it comes to accessories, there's one other additional thing that Donatello has, and that's something that no other turtles have. Donatello has glasses now. So he's got little glasses, and these actually do attach to his head. They are removable, and there's little holes on the sides of his head. You can just squeeze them on in. They go in really nicely and easy, and they stay in also, which is really handy. And in addition to his glasses, he also comes with some headphones. So I don't quite know how a turtle wears headphones, because we don't even know where the heck his ears are, but we'll just slide them on over here next to his glasses. I'm not entirely sure how these actually do go on, because they kind of look a little funny if they're just like this. So I don't know if they're meant to just kind of like wrap around his head, perhaps, because they don't look too bad if they're actually over there. I'm going to go with that for the time being. I don't think that's too horrible, but the glasses to me are actually way more fun. Like, I think those are such a great Donatello accessory, and he looks really cute like this too. It's pretty adorable. So definitely digging his debut in action figure form as far as I can tell with glasses. So let me give you guys my final thoughts on these figures while we take a look at some side-by-side comparisons with the original Turtles figures, as well as how they are side-by-side with each other with their weapons out. Overall, I am very, very impressed by these figures. And we gotta keep in mind, the price point of all these turtles, I believe it's all $10 to $12. That's unheard of in today's action figure market. To get something like this with the number of accessories they have, the articulation they have, this is great. This is really a throwback to the action figures of the past, because man, back in the day, we got spoiled in the 80s and especially in the 90s with all those accessories and all those things. This is like a turtle lover's wet dream. There's so many accessories, so many throwbacks, so much reminiscence of the past in these toys, but also a whole lot of modernity. I mean, there's new looks for all of them. Everybody has their own expression, their own feeling. It's in a lot of ways an upgrade. That's not a real way to say that the other figures or other turtles were inferior. Not at all. I love all versions of turtles, but I'm really digging how these guys look, and I especially enjoy just the toyability of them all, if that's a word. It's not, but it is today. A lot of folks love to use the word toyetic, and the turtles are absolutely so toyetic, but I'm going to go with toyability today, because toyetic is a look for me, and toyability is more so play and enjoyment of them. And I feel like these are the kind of figures that adults and kids are going to love in a way that a lot of other toy lines do not give them. We're getting such cool expressions, bodies, weapons, accessories. There's so much here. And this is just the beginning of this line too, because keep in mind, we didn't look at any of the villains. We didn't look at any of their characters like Splinter or April. And there's also a ton of larger scale figures, as well as playsets and vehicles. There's at least one or two motorcycle type toys. There's their new version of the Turtle Wagon, and there's a really cool New York City style diorama setup that's enormous. I really recommend you guys check out my preview video of these toys if you want to see more about them. Those playsets are going to knock your socks off, or if you're a Ninja Turtle, it's going to knock your bandana off your head. For me, there's only one downside to these figures, and that is the difficulty I had in getting some of them to stand up straight. I do wish that they came with bases, but I know most toys don't come with bases anymore. So I'm just hoping that some industrious fellow out there decides that they're having a similar problem as I am, and they start making some 3D printed bases that they can mail or sell, or just put the STL file out there somewhere. But for the most part, with some finagling, I was able to get the turtles to stand up, and you're seeing it here in all these photos. But, for the most part, it does worry me because of how these turtle shells are balanced. That's always been an issue with a lot of turtles, is like how to keep them balanced with that giant shell on their back. So I think it's something just to be aware of, but it's not impossible. It's not a total negative, because clearly there's ways to work around it and get your figures standing up just fine. Now, these figures officially come out on June 25th. I'm going to have links to a few different places where you can pick these guys up. If you use any of those links, they will help out this YouTube channel at no extra cost to you. At the end of the day, I'm really digging these figures, and they're definitely going to be added to my permanent turtle collection. And truth be told, I'm going to probably be buying a few more of these, so don't be surprised if we come back to these figures in a few weeks from now to look at maybe the vehicles or the play sets, because I'm definitely on board for some of this stuff. Take it from a long-time turtle lover, these figures are scratching that itch. Do not pass these guys up if you see them in stores. So that's our look at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the new Mutant Mayhem movie. That's all 4 of our heroes in a half shell. Can't wait to see what else this toy line is going to do. So until next time, I'm Matthew. This has been Nerd News Today. Thanks for watching, and cowabunga!